Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Esteemed Gentleman podcast for Thursday, April 22nd. I am your host, Scott LeBrie. Joined alongside me, as always, we have Uncle Teabag, Tyler Sunt,
Hello there.
and all day Eric Deshane.
Hello.
How you boys doing today?
I'm great.
Don't lie.
Good all day, yeah.
I'm just
As good as it's gonna be for a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we're a little bit of a, warning, You might hear a toddler crying here and then there in the background. She's fine. She just doesn't want to go to bed. That's not just how it is, right?
That's right. That's right.
But today's topic is the worst jobs that we've had, or just worst jobs you think
that you think would be the worst job that you could possibly have. And we can even talk about, if you want, some of the worst jobs that you have ever had. We don't have to go into detail about like it being like the boss or who you worked for, whatever. Just kind of the work that you had to do that you felt was like, they don't pay me enough for this shit kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know. I was just kind of thinking about it. I was having kind of a stressful day. And I was like, man, fuck, I don't deserve this. This is bullshit, blah, blah, blah. And then I started thinking, I'm like, sometimes when I'm in a stressful situation like that, where it's like, you know what, I'm going to fucking rage quit, I swear to God, or I'm going to whatever, you're just having a real bad day. And it's like, you know what, I could honestly be knee deep in some guts, in a trench, getting shot at, not knowing if I'm ever going to go home again, or if I'm just going to die in this trench next to all these other guys, like as a soldier. And it's like, yeah, you know what? It's not so bad.
Yeah.
What I'm doing, 8 to 5, you got most weekends off, and decent pay. You got a nice place, and
indoors,
yeah, exactly. Like life is pretty good when you put things into perspective like that. So I'm just wondering, like, what did you guys consider, like, maybe it could be like, say, the top 3 like worst jobs you could ever possibly have, like in the world? Not slavery, because obviously that takes the cake. That's not cool, unless that's what you're into.
That's not really a job, though. That's more like
a
pressed occupation. That's not really fair.
Right, exactly. No,
this is my job I have where I get chained to the guy. We work all day without pay. Yeah, that's good job.
You get paid with food sometimes because you have to be alive to do the work, right? So
still, it's not really a job you can with a good retirement plan. Let's say it's not really that made for that.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Well, when you message the group chat with the worst jobs, the one that like came to mind, it's not necessarily like a hard job, like a grueling job, or like a gross job. But when you said like worst, it just like came to mind. It was like probably the most boring job I could think of, and that is at work we get these like flyers for this like locksmithing company that just sells locks. That's all they do. They sell locks for doors, windows, whatever, padlocks, anything like that. And it like always like shows like their storefront and like how there's like people like working the front desk. And I'm like, man, that would be the most boring freaking job in the world, to just sell locks. That's your job. Like, I've been in retail, like selling electronics. You guys like sell parts and stuff like that. You can get like some enjoyment out of like what people are buying or something like that. Like, oh, maybe somebody's getting like, I don't know what, a cool car part or some bullshit like that.
Yeah, accessories or whatever, decking out their truck with new wheels and tires and lifts and stuff. Yeah, I can see it. I know what you mean.
But a lock, like, how could you spend 40 hours a week just selling locks? Like, that would be like, it'd be insane. You're not going out to like do any locksmithing and like, unlock people who are like locked out of things. No, you're just selling locks.
Like just locks or like safes? Is that part of their thing?
I think they do have some safes there, maybe.
Because I'll
electronic admit, locks.
Yeah.
Dial locks, analog locks.
Yeah, that's not that bad.
All kinds of locks. That's not that bad. That can't be
that. I mean, when I worked at Cabela's, my one job for half a year was selling safes, and I had no problems doing that at all. It was actually not that bad. It was fun just to kind of go and introduce people like what the differences is between these safes and how they function, and what they're rated for theft and for fire and stuff like that. It was good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's cool because you put valuable stuff in it.
Yeah, that's true.
But what if I was like, hey, I need a lock for my shed, And it's like, well, I got freaking 40 different locks that will work for your shed. And they're like, well, tell me the difference between all of them.
I've got this cheap chrome one that comes with 2 keys. I've got this one. It's a latch.
Like, just imagine like all the dumb questions you guys get about parts, like car parts, but it's about locks instead.
Yeah, it could be kind of bad.
But I mean, it's for sure.
That's like any job, though. It's good and bad.
I'm shitting all over the locksmithing industry.
Right.
But no, so for me, I know I may have talked this before on the podcast too, but I know one job that I didn't like, I never want to do again, was when I interned with the government with education and did their server work for them and the computers.
Oh.
And you lived in a cubicle farm all day on the 10th floor of a building downtown Edmonton, and you literally just live in your cubicle or in the server room. You don't see daylight, you don't see anybody else, you're by yourself most of the time, and it's very lonely and very quiet, and it was sent you a little crazy. So definitely don't want to do that ever again. So
interesting.
I was a part of a crew of like 4 guys who maintained the servers there, and you do IT tech as well too. So they call you about their problems. And 9 times out of 10 is legitimate, like turn your computer off and on again. Yeah, okay, there you go. It was that shit, right? So and I definitely do not miss just sitting in a 4x4 cubicle looking at a screen all day and not talking to nobody else. It was that was not for me at all. So and it drove me crazy. I was only there for 2 months, and it was when I was done, I'm like, thank Christ, because I don't want to do this ever again. So like that was very bad for me. So I didn't want to do it again.
I think, well, if you're going to be talking about like personal jobs that you've had that you thought were some of the worst jobs.
Yeah, I didn't want to get into that yet, but it's just that concept of, I know when if you guys seen the movie Office Space, that same thought too, where it's like he takes on the one wall just to open up the window. That's all I wanted, because I would just sit there and wait for phone calls and not see nothing but the cubicle, right? So it's like I just want to look out a window. I want to see wildlife, but no, nothing. It's like so yeah, that's kind of why I just remember not enjoying with the work.
Isolation for sure. That'd be pretty boring, pretty shitty. And then like the highlight of your day is having a friendly conversation with somebody that needed your help, like, oh, I'm so dumb, I should have thought of that before, oh, thanks for your help, blah blah blah. And it's like the highlight of your day. It's
like,
a phone call like that.
No, thank you.
No, I clicked on that already. I tried that. Oh, where does that go? Where do you click? Oh,
what's the button?
Where's my computer?
I forgot my password. Can you make me a new password again? It's like, what's your login info, and help you with that again. It's like, oh god, the tech support is not for me.
Yeah, for me, I don't know. It wasn't really the work, I don't think, for me, but it might have been just working for family. It's not the greatest.
That's where I was going to for another one. Yeah.
That's a tough one, because you see so many successful companies that are built like with family companies, and they get along. Well, they appear to be. And then you ask them, it's like, like I've worked, with my family before. Working with my grandpa was okay. It's because you don't see him every day, right? But when you're working with your family and you live with them and whatever, that could be with anybody though. Because I worked a job where I lived with the person that I worked with, carpooled with them, and and it's like okay, we need a break, man. Like, we gotta move on here, kind of thing. But it's like Leia, she probably wants to move out from the sounds of it. She's so stressed out. But working with family was pretty tough. But the worst job yet, and it was also kind of a shitty job too. My dad, he does plumbing, heating, gas fitting, and there was a couple of jobs we had to do where we had to replace old septic systems. So I would be the one in the hole, and he'd be the one that's in the backhoe, safe from the splash damage that would be falling apart. Like the big septic tanks are made out of concrete squares, right? So there's a pipe that comes out of the house, all the poop goes in there, and then sometimes they're super rotted out, and that's why they have to be replaced, right? Because over time it just breaks apart. So you're down there and you got to cut the pipe that's going into the thing. And you're cutting it, and you see all kinds of interesting things coming through there. You get some of it splashes on you, and the smell, it's just like, it would blow your mind what people will flush down the toilet. Yeah, I'm gonna say, okay, everybody that's very squeamish, plug your ears right now. I've found dead kittens in the drain. People have flushed baby kitties down the drain. And it's just like, what is that? You know, like you look at it and you're like, oh God, it looks like a little creature of some kind, but it's so like swollen and absorbed all the fluids. the smell. Yeah, it's fucked horrible. Up. It's really fucked up. And that was a pretty nasty job. But I did get paid pretty well to do it, so it kind of balanced. So it's like, it's tough to say that would be like one of the worst jobs to have, because it's like, ugh. That makes for a good story.
A trauma bonus for that job.
Yeah, exactly. That's like when you're in the military. Yeah. When I was going to join the military, they said like if you become like a paratroop specialist, it's like, oh, if you become a paratrooper, you know, then you get extra pay because there's hazard pay. Yeah, because you're jumping out of a plane. If your parachute doesn't open, you break something. It's like all this hazard pay, what is that going to go towards if you're dead, right? So it's like not worth it. So I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, the more that, but yeah, I don't know. Well, so what would you guys think would be like one of the absolute worst jobs you could ever have? Like stress, gross, terrible, but yet maybe essential job. Where somebody has to do it. It's a shitty job, but someone has to do it.
I know I couldn't do like to be in healthcare, like nursing or even higher than that. Like I could not do that. Like especially when it comes to like the mortality and stuff like that, like surgery and death. Like I don't know if I can do that. I really don't. Like especially like even elder care too. Like that's one thing. It's like I don't know. That's jeez. Like
they don't get enough.
No, they don't get enough, and that's what it is essential. But to me, I'd be terrified to do it because I know darn well I would be so attached and so emotional for shit like that. I just couldn't do it. Like it's
exactly. Yeah. Oh, she's really pissed off tonight. Damn. Yeah, no, for sure. I think that would be like one of the worst ones too. You know, just he didn't make it. Okay, now we got a new one moving in, and you got to do it all over again. It's like Jesus Christ, you know.
You're human, for crying out loud. No human can go through that without feeling something, right? So
that's the thing too. Like especially like if you're like an old folks home worker or something like that, and you like, you know, you meet and talk with these people every day, and you like grow an attachment, like a friendship with them. That's like,
that's what I was.
And you're constantly like having to say goodbye to people, like, you know, probably every other week or something, maybe even more.
Right?
Damn. Fuck.
That is very much so. Yeah, for sure.
Well, those who do that and are listening, you do an awesome job, and keep that up, please.
Yes.
Very essential.
We would never want your job, but somebody has to do it.
Yes.
So thank you. And the same can be said. The obvious other choice is soldiers, right?
Oh yeah,
the guys that are, you know, serving in the military, peacekeepers that go and try and help out and whatever, like the real peacekeepers, or you know, even like mercenaries and stuff too. It's like, oh, we don't have jurisdiction there, we can't do it. Well, hire some mercenaries to go in there and clean house or fix the situation or whatever, right? I mean, it's kind of like, this would be a cool job. You know, you're going to do something great, but you know, the PTSD after, the stress, the, you know, possibility of getting injured and all that stuff too. And you know, that's that's definitely out there.
I used to live with 3 vets. 2 of them were injured too, so I played sports with them too as well, and everything. I got to know them very well, and some of the stuff they told me and they deal with, oh man, like that's it's nightmare fuel for sure. Like,
definitely.
Bradley, Dylan, and those guys were heroes, and it's unfortunate for them, but and
they don't get enough recognition, really. I don't think.
Never enough. No, I say agreed.
But what about you, Scott?
Yeah, kind of in that same line, like being like a police officer. Like you think of like the people who just pull you over for speeding tickets. It's like, I could do that, but then you also hear of those guys who, like, you know, go to, I don't know, domestic abuse cases and stuff like that, and sometimes there's kids involved and all that other stuff, and it's just like, how do you keep your cool? Like,
I was just gonna
that's
say
the thing, right? It's
maintain your professionalism. It's like, you know, like the dad or whoever is beating these kids, you just want to walk in there, just pull your baton out and be like, hey, turn the body cams off, this guy's gonna get it. You're gonna get a taste of your own medicine. That's why I couldn't be a part of that. I don't think. It takes a very special individual to do something like that, for sure.
Another one actually that I just kind of popped in my head is like a social media manager, especially of like video game company because of like how toxic fans can get of like thinking
trolls.
of like the cyberpunk social media manager who just like just constantly like having to deal with all the shitstorm of that and like
putting out fires is your main job.
You put out an update that's like, you know, you're just trying to put out some sort of update and it's like you just get hit with vitriol and like getting cursed for, like with every word under the sun. It's like
you gotta be thick skinned for something like that.
Yeah, you would have to.
Oh, you have to. Yeah,
and you would think like, you know, up until like especially Cyberpunk, you're like, oh man, my job's awesome. People love Cyberpunk. Everybody wants to talk about it. Everybody's cosplaying, and I get to share the cosplays and blah blah blah. And then just release day hits, and you're like, oh, this is the worst job ever. I fucking hate my life.
Just a catastrophic failure, and it's like, oh fuck. Yeah,
I don't want.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's
for sure.
Yeah, especially in this day and age where like media stuff where that job is highly necessary, and yet I would not want to do it because of that the flack you get to it. Oh, it's
right.
It just like can flip like that. Just
it's
like, oh, the guy who I'm representing said some racist shit. Well, fuck, now I got to deal with that. Yeah, that's my job.
Yeah, exactly.
One for you, Tyler. What would be one in the film industry that you know of that you wouldn't want to do?
That's a tough one.
The guy who gets set on fire. No.
Right? Yeah. Well, stunt guys. No. I would say stunt guys, but no, because they're pretty well trained. They got things pretty much set up, and they're doing all the fun, exciting stuff. And
because they spend days upon days to make sure it's choreographed right. Like it's not that they're just doing it. If it happens, it happens. Like no, like they try to minimize the error to the minimalist thing that they could, right? So hell no,
I think basically the worst job would be like the guy that's like the gopher on the set that's like, hey, go get these guys coffee, hey, get this guy this, go and you know, Tom Cruise is freaking out because he doesn't have his whatever, right? Like he's like, you call this a fucking he's freaking out at you, whatever, like these entitled douchebags.
I was just gonna say the lighting guy on
the
Terminator movie with Christian Bale when he flipped out on him.
Yeah,
fucking asshole.
Right.
Yeah.
You fucked up the whole shot. Just losing his mind. Fuck that, man.
That's a good one. That's I was thinking that too. It's like something just your Lotus totem pole, your gopher bitch. Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah. Somebody who made even those guys make a decent amount. They make like $20-$22 an hour. But and you're with celebrities, you get to be there on the set, you're part of the whole thing. But you just get screamed at. Get me another sandwich that doesn't taste like ass, and throws it at you.
Yeah, right. Don't look Christian Bale in the eyes.
Yeah,
exactly.
You will speak when spoken to, boy.
Maybe you can inform me of this because I've always seen it like in the credits. But what is a key grip?
A key grip is, I think, he's the guy that kind of sets up. Like audio, gets all the equipment set up, lights and stuff. He helps out all the. I think that's who he is. I'm pretty sure. I feel like I should know this a lot better, but it's because I do all the things myself mostly when I'm filming. It's all freelance. Because when you watch like an indie film, like Pony Smasher, that's his YouTube name. The guy that made like Lights Out and Shazam, he said that when he's the guy that makes those little short films, he said. When he got his first big job where he was making Lights Out in Hollywood and they had a big budget, they had a full crew. It's the first time he ever had a crew because he used to set up his own lights, his own audio. He had his camera set up so that he could move it quickly to do the different takes, get all the shots done. And it's like, okay, we got the shot. Let's change the set and do this. And he's like, oh, we're not just going to turn the camera and just keep going. Like, cause he's like, oh, it's like a whole new process. Cause he's just so used to, no, that's his job. He's going to do this and he's going to set up and you got the DP over here and he's going to frame this and we're, makeup's going to come in and touch up the stuff and make sure that everything looks right. And he's like, oh, okay, sure. Yeah. He's just like, cause he's so used to just run and gun. Well, he has it all framed up, but
being like union jobs, like they have to do that. It's like, no, you are not allowed to touch that.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. One of the worst jobs I ever heard somebody that actually had used to work with him actually. He used to live in Vancouver and one of his main jobs for the longest time he said was working at the morgue. Ooh. He was the guy that would bring the bodies in and dispose of them and stuff like that too. And he wasn't the one that would like do the disembowelment and do them all up and make them all ready for whatever. He's the one that kind of just dispose of the bodies. And he's like, that's your kind of job. Like you kind of get over that pretty quick, whatever. But it's tough when you get to like the kids and the babies and stuff. He said, and okay, plug your ears, everybody. He says that in order to make less trips to the incinerator, they used to put them in their pockets. He said, and carry them in there. I'm like, oh, he told it to me like with a straight face. I'm like, man, this guy has seen some shit.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap.
Oh man.
Yeah, like that job, that would suck. That would be a shitty job. And he's like, yeah, and the pay was, mediocre. Like it wasn't anything great, and then sometimes like you don't really think of it like it's part of your job. You're just doing it, whatever. And then all of a sudden you'll just be eating, and then you'll think about it. It's like you just lost your appetite. And it's just like, oh my God, like I couldn't do that. Fuck that. Even like working at a slaughterhouse too. That's another thing. Like screw that. No way. No way. Not this guy. Yeah. There's a lot of shitty jobs out there, man. Yeah. Or being like the Royal Guard and like the British
and you
Royal Guard where you just gotta stand there all day.
Shit.
Yep. Deal with all the douchebags.
Posing next to you. Yeah. But then every once in a while you get the one that gets a little too close, and then you can like just snap at him, just
give it
back
to
the
him.
fuck up.
Back away from the Queen's Guard. That video. Pulls his gun down on her. Back away from the King's Guard.
And then they like shit their pants because they're so scared. It's like, oh God. What do they do?
Exactly. Because they'll fuck you up. Yeah.
You guys ever like quit a job like the same day you started it because you just hated it?
No.
I don't think so.
I did one time where I was working at started working as just like a laborer at a like oil field tank assembly place. And it's like, you're just sweeping all day. I got to like lunchtime. I'm like, nah, this is for the birds. I'm out of here. I'll find something else.
Yeah.
Like pay was probably decent, but it's like, fuck, man, I don't want to do this all day, every day. That'd just be boring out of my mind.
Yeah. It made me remember one of the worst jobs. I mean, I made a killing. Was when I worked for Precision Drilling and I was doing night shift. That was terrible. That was terrible. My first shift was, I believe it was up in Conklin, if I remember correctly. So first off, it was almost impossible for me to find the place because the dispatch had given me the wrong directions. They actually gave me the old location. I was driving a Ford Probe GT Cherry Red. It was like wintertime. It was like -30 out. And I'm driving in this low, I have like an inch of clearance from the bottom of the ground to the front bumper. And I'm like, oh my God, if I slip off of this trail, I'm fucked. I'm stuck, right? And there are big trucks going by and passing by camps. I stopped at a camp and I was like, do you guys know where Rig 889 is? And they're like, sorry, man, we're with a different company. We're with Ensign Drilling. We're with whatever. I'm like, fuck. So I'm like trying to phone, and phones back then had no reception at all. Like, not to mention, like when you're out in the boonies, even less. You're in the negative reception. So then I'm like driving. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I can't find it. So it turned out that I hadn't gone far enough to look for the mile markers. So when I found the mile markers, I'm like, oh, this makes sense now. I just had to keep going to the point where I was about to give up. But when you're about to give up, you got to keep going another 10 miles before you start seeing those markers. So it's like, holy man. So I'm driving, and I'm already an hour late for my first shift. I left like hours before to make sure I got there on time and get oriented, whatever, right? So I'm freaking out. It's my first like really high paying job too. And so I'm driving, and it's like pitch black out. It starts snowing, and then I see the mile marker. I'm like, oh, 25, perfect. So I turned right, and poof, I hit a snowbank because the snow had filled up that road already because nobody's been down that road for like 2 weeks now. I'm like, oh, fuck, and I can't like turn around. I'm freaking out, so I'm driving, and I'm driving, and I'm driving, and I made it like really far, and then I stopped because it was pitch black. I got out, and I'm like listening for a rig or anything. I couldn't hear anything. And I'm like, my anxiety was so high and panicking. I'm not even at like the job that sucked yet. I didn't even get there yet. So I'm like, Jesus Christ. So I'm like, I backed up and just about like stuck the butt end, like the back of the car, into a snowbank and got stuck in there. I managed to get out, and I pulled out, and I managed to get like one bar of reception. And the rig boss or whatever, he had phoned me. Yeah, the push. That's the name. I'm like, what the fuck was his title? The push. He phoned me up. He's like, hey, you lost? And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm totally lost. He's like, yeah. Oh, dispatch gave you the wrong location. And this guy was like half in the bag already. I could tell. I could barely understand him. Oh, you gotta go to marker 125. You got like 100 markers to go, man. You gotta keep going. And I'm like, oh my god, like I have like a quarter tank of gas left. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm driving. It's like, yeah, just keep an eye out. There's a rig move going on that road, so you might have to pull over. You got a truck? And I'm like, no, man, I don't have a truck. So then, long story short, I finally got there. I was so thrilled to get there. And this shitty little camp, I got there. Yeah, sure enough, he was drunk. He's like, don't worry about being late. It's all good, man. He's like, have a steak, have some food, blah, blah, blah. The food was great. The amenities were actually pretty good too. And, then I hopped in his truck with him, got all dressed up, went out to the rig. And you work basically. So it took us about an hour and a half to get out to the rig. And then, I kind of got orientated. All the guys that were working out there were tweakers and douchebags and just like... So after being out there for about 2 weeks, my shift was almost over. The shitty part was your shift starts at 7 o'clock and you work till 7 o'clock in the morning. So I'd have to wake up at about 5:36-ish because, you'd be getting to the truck and then go, right? And then because you have to be there at 7. Doesn't mean like you get up at 7 and go start. You're starting at the rig site at 7 o'clock. So it took us about an hour to get out there. So I'm like getting like next to no sleep. I haven't seen the daylight in 2 weeks. They're like, oh yeah, your replacement guy hasn't shown up. So if you stick around for another 2 weeks, it's double time, double pay. And I'm like, well, okay, I'll do it. And man, by the time I got out of that camp and my shift was over after a month, I swear to God, I had turned into a vampire. I had not seen the sun yet. And I'm like, I can't keep doing this. It was like minus 35, like every freaking night. You're freezing your balls off. You have like these steam hoses used to steam off all the ice off the shacks and off the pipes and everything else. And I'm basically wrapping steam hoses around my legs and my torso to keep warm, which is not safe, but it was the only way like I could keep warm. And if I kept going into the boot room to warm up, then I would get yelled at. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, Leia's having a meltdown up there. You guys hear that?
Yeah.
It's background music.
Maybe we'll... Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Maybe we'll call it there. We're right at time anyways. Okay. Any like last things you guys want to say before we get out of here?
Being a parent's the worst job. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, on that note, let's wrap this thing up. Thank you so much for watching and listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, like and subscribe here on YouTube, and subscribe also on Google Podcasts, Apple, Spotify, wherever you're listening it to on there. And why not head over to our Facebook page and like us there as well. That's going to do it. We'll be back here tomorrow for the weekly wrap-up and some nerdy news that you need to know about. Until then, adios.
See ya.
Bye.